who hear and understand, pay attention to the breath of the new. Behold the new dawn that will illuminate the world. No more will the clergy sit upon the throne of hypocrisy. No more will the mosques be marketplaces of deception and lies. The tie of the turban will be severed. No cleric will remain, neither glitter nor deceit. The world will be freed from idle fancies and vain imaginings. Humanity free from superstition and confusion. Justice will pronounce judgment on oppression and tyranny. The power of thought, knowledge and reflection will defeat ignorance. The carpet of justice will be rolled out, and the seed of unity will be planted. The reign of disunity will disappear throughout the world, and the principle of opposition will be changed into unity and love.
While researching the life and fate of Tahere, I came across a collection of works by several writers and scholars. My attention was immediately caught by what one author said. This booklet is a gift to the spirit of the women and girls who, for the sake of the oneness of humankind, have sacrificed their lives. Who was Tahere? What did she believe in? Why did she give up her life? Was she only a poetess who expressed her profound emotions from the bottom of her heart and with such nobility and beauty? Was she just a skilled author, a woman of magnetic beauty and vast knowledge who wanted to express her views? Was she a champion of freedom for women, one who rejected the Islamic tradition of the hijab and Sharia law and embraced a new faith? Or an outstanding personality whose radiance shone upon the lives around her and who made history? She was all these, and a great deal more. When the bloodthirsty rulers, clerics and executioners of the Qajar dynasty, in fear of the Babi movement, searched every corner, nook and cranny, leaving no stone unturned in order to find these progressive infidels, Tahere, herself a Babi, was fully aware of what her fate would be. They came for her, and she walked proudly towards them. Her executioners strangled her, threw her into a well, and, as she had requested, covered it with rocks and earth. This incident caused great excitement in the newspapers of the world. In all continents they reported the death of this brave woman. People were talking about a woman called Tahere, everywhere and in all classes of society. Leaders, politicians, thinkers, freedom fighters, men and women, authors, poets, dramatists, whether deeply or superficially, they were all affected profoundly by the fate of this woman, and expressed their revulsion at the deed. Tahere was named Consolation of the Eyes, Golden Crown, Star of the Orient, Queen, and Heroine of History. It did not take long for the excitement about her to die down, as if a woman like Tahere had never existed. But at the same time, the persecution of the Babis reached new heights, which did not receive as much attention from the press. It was the Bab who announced the beginning of a new era in the history of humankind. His breast was riddled with the bullets of ignorance and fanaticism. Later, Baha'u'llah proclaimed the idea of the oneness of humankind and forfeited ministerial position, power, wealth and fame, as well as a life in luxury and comfort. For 40 years he endured indignities, prison, exile. He created a new world for all, with social justice, education for all, equal rights for women and men. Baha'u'llah demanded that all obstacles on the path to unity should be abolished, such obstacles as nationalism, racism, and religious prejudice. He called for non-violence as well as the establishment and the support of all institutions that represent the nations equally. And it was he who called the earth one country and humankind its citizens. A movement, a teaching, or a faith, regardless of what one calls it, such ideas that called into question all the political systems were certainly at that time, as today, a danger for the rulers of the world, and in particular a thorn in the flesh of the religious leaders in Iran. Time passed, and the mullah's wish was fulfilled. The persecution and oppression of the Baha'is in Iran reached its climax. A handful of armed bandits, fanatical and ignorant, robbed the political power from the hands of the Democrats in a deceitful way, and thus power fell into the hands of the clergy. In a building that they called a parliament, some mullahs assembled with their subordinates, who called themselves the representatives and the elected of the Iranian people. They swore by the Quran to destroy this movement of infidels once and for all, not only in the land of its origin, but in the whole world. The army of Islam, or rather Allah's warriors, were mobilized against a peaceful and defenseless minority. Arrests, torture, forced conversion to Islam, executions, the withdrawal of rights, the prohibition of universal study, confiscation of property, damage and destruction, as well as pillage of and fire attacks on historical buildings became the order of the day. Cemeteries were bulldozed and made into asphalt roads, for fear that one day the infidels would rise from their graves and cry out for freedom. The efforts of the United Nations to put an end to this drama were all to no avail. Where were and are those who play at being upholders of moral standards, who constantly speak of freedom, democracy, and human rights, and at the same time do business with and even support every dictatorial and criminal regime? In a time in which the world is shaken by violence, terror, wars, oppression, and injustice, we should remember and think of people like Tahere, people who sacrificed for peace and a better, more just and safer world. A great personality of the 20th century, Sir Peter Ustinov, said that it was time that the world knew about Tahere. Tahere still lives. In 1817, a daughter was born to a highly respected scholar in Kazvin. Her real name was Salme, but nobody called her by that name. Even as a child, she had a particular radiance and personality, so unusual that her family called her Zarin Taj, Golden Crown. Later, she was known as Qurratul Ain, Consolation of the Eyes. Because of Tahere's extraordinary talents and quick mind, she was permitted to attend her father's lessons, but had to sit behind a curtain so that the students, all men, could not be made aware of her presence. But when she once corrected her father, her presence became known. The Babi Baha'i movement that arose at this time in Iran was a consolation for Tahere and caused her to hope that her ideals could be realized. And thus she joined this movement, for which, at the age of 35, she then sacrificed her life in 1852. Tahere was a writer, especially of poems, verses which express her deep conviction and her loyalty to the Babi Baha'i teachings and its goals. Verses that speak of longing, fate, steadfastness, and heroic deeds on the path towards a better world. Tahere's poetic style is that of neoclassicism, marked by progressive and social ideas, but in colourful and elevated language. In the selected poem, Tahere seeks to express her love and longing for someone whom she never met, but who she knew would set the world in motion. The beloved, here, is not only the Bab himself, but rather what he revealed and proclaimed.
I would explain all my grief, dot by dot, point by point, if heart to heart we talk, and face to face we meet. To catch a glimpse of thee, I am wandering like a breeze, from house to house, door to door, place to place, street to street. In separation from thee, the blood of my heart gushes out of my eyes, in torrent after torrent, river after river, wave after wave, stream after stream. Tahere sought within herself, in all her thoughts, in all her heart, but found only you.